And I thought, like, is this the Joker we're talking about? Okay, okay, I went with it, and then, so we ended up doing a very different version, and I dialed back. And then I think I read something on the incredibly supportive internet where people were, like, ragging on my Joker, and, you know, I was like, all right, I'll draw you a normal Joker, so I dialed it back. But I can do whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I think at this point, even with Batman, I've done, you know, New 52 Batman, Rebirth Batman, Post-Rebirth Batman, Batman Hush, All-Star Batman, you know, all these different Batman. I'm happy to draw long years, short years. I got the Batman I wanted to draw out of my system, which was Batman Hush. So at this point, I just like doing different versions of the character just for, you know, to keep myself creatively engaged. And I think the same way with Joker, right? I haven't done like He-Man Joker yet, like really bulked out Joker, which would be kind of interesting. I'm sure it'll happen.
Yeah, and the story, the second part of my question, what are your duties now as co-publisher over at DC?
My duties? Duties?
Everything.
My obligations. Yeah, like, I am third in line, and so well, Dan and I are publishers, and so we oversee the print and digital business. So we have about 150 people that we publish about 60 to 70 comic books, periodicals, and about 25 books or so. So that includes production, manufacturing, publicity is part of the group, sales, legal, business affairs, editorial. So it's really about making sure everyone works together to publish the slate. But I think on a very, very top line, if I could simplify it all down, it's basically how many books are we going to publish here? What are these books? Who are they for? And who's going to like create these books? And if you look at our line, we move from a slate that really is focused primarily on the direct market to the core consumer, the core comic book fans, yourself. And we've diversified it over the years so that we have like the Walmart books, which are designed to be for first-time readers in a mass market channel. And then we have digital comics, of course, all you can eat through the DC Universe, and I know that's not available up here, but sorry. And then the books for young readers that we just recently launched is going really well for us. But we just feel it's really important. Like, we love this crowd, we love this business, but we need to bring in younger readers. We need to bring in new readers, and so that's been a primary challenge and goal of ours in the last 5 years. And so. And we're looking at other ways of, again, finding new audiences, because people know who these characters are. They're walking around wearing these T-shirts, but they're not reading the comics. So how do we do that? And it's not like one idea is gonna. There's not like a magic bullet. You're gonna have to basically tailor-make your content for the audience you're seeking in the channel that you're looking to sell it in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's right. Well, thank you for the applause. All right. I do have a brush. What's our time? Oh, so the other thing I do when I do these, when I do these sketches, I give them away. So it's like a thank you to you guys, yeah. So I will figure out a way to give this away, but I'm gonna do another one after this. Over in the back. Ma'am? Yes.
So I was wondering, is Gen 13 ever going to come back? And my other question is more of a curiosity question. What do people at DC refer to as Captain Marvel? Like Captain Marvel, because the last time I was at, one of the panelists kept on saying Captain Marvel. Well, I was thinking Shazam Captain Marvel, but even though Marvel's got the movie now.
Yeah. Yeah, we never say the M word in the office, so in general. I call him Captain Marvel, but we call him Shazam.
Yeah.
But he can't call himself Shazam unless he wants to turn into a young boy. So, and I think they played around with that in the movie, right? They came up with all these different other names for the character because he couldn't answer like my name is Shazam without transforming either way, right? So, but no, we call him Shazam. Yeah, and Gen 13, we talked about it. I think all the Wildstorm stuff, right now, Warren Ellis has been handling the Wildstorm universe for us and sort of this pop-up imprint. Gen 13 was such a 90s creation though. I don't know. It'd have to be the right creative take on it. I think on updating, like how do you make this relevant again? Or do you just lean into the fact that it's 90s? But I think there's some challenges there.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yes,
Yeah, I'm really
Ultra Boy.
Ultra Boy.
Yes, I'm struggling to come up with the name.
I'm really excited that DC is bringing back the Legion of Superheroes.
Oh, I knew we were going to Legion. Yes, yes.
But I'm curious, a few weeks ago, 2 books were pulled from DC, Superman and Supergirl, featuring the Legion. What happened? Are you involved in this? I'm curious as to what happened to those 2 books and why they were recalled.
Yeah, I don't know if did we explain why it was recalled? I don't think there was a press release. Yeah, so I would hate to take away, I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of the people that chose not to speak about that, right? So, but there were issues with the content not being exactly the way we envisioned it when it went out the door, so we made those corrections. So it wasn't this nefarious plot or conspiracy. Sometimes things happen where you go out like, oh, that's not the way it should have gone out, and then we have to kind of weigh the risks and sort of consequences of pulping books or asking retailers to pulp books. But in this one, we felt it warranted it because we wanted to make some artistic changes to the content. But we're still moving forward with Legion of Superheroes. Brian Bendis has an amazing take on the characters. I got to draw the first 8 pages of the special that's basically launching it all. And I don't draw any of the Legionnaires in it, but it's still a fun 8 pages. And like I said, I think he's doing something very different with them that hasn't been done before, and kind of how he's introducing them. And so I'm excited to see how that works, because there's been a lot of efforts to kind of reboot them, and some more successful than others. And like I said, I think he's got a really interesting take, so I'm excited to see how it goes. You, sir, in the hat. Yes.
I was just wondering, when you're trying to draw in perspective, do you know about math or philosophy?
If I'm drawing perspective,
Do you have a math or philosophy that you use?
a Mac or math. I used to, like when I started out, I used to measure like the gutters, the space between panels. You know what I'm talking about? Like when there's 2 panels, multiple panels on a page, I would use a ruler and I would measure, make sure they were all the same width. I don't do that anymore. So when I started out drawing, I would focus on actually doing the math behind perspective. I don't do that anymore. But I think it's useful to do it because you understand how to do it and how to do it right, and then how to fake doing it right, which is what I do now. So don't line up anything. Don't look too hard. So very quickly, yeah, so if I had a marker. Do any of you guys know anything about perspective? Just a few? I can say whatever I want then. All right, okay, here we go. Horizon line. These are vanishing points. I hope I get this right. All right, so everything moves towards a vanishing point. All right, that's how, I don't know why that is, but I think it's because we live in a 3-dimensional space. And we can only be in one space at the same time, at any given time. So we can't see things isometrically like you can in a video game. All right, here we go. So if these are the vanishing lines like this, and you have a building, and it's a rectangular building, you can make it look like it's in perspective doing this. And so these rays can be anywhere as long as they go back to these 2 vanishing points. And almost everything is 2-point perspective. There is 3-point perspective, which I'll do, but everything is 3-point perspective, I think, or maybe you can do more, I don't know. I've never done more than 3. So here's just 2, and here's your building, okay? Now, if there is a, because this is foreshortened, you can't just say this is the middle. You can't measure this and say this is the middle, right? Because you know that this is longer, that midpoint should be longer than this midpoint because it's in perspective. Does that make sense? All right, okay. So how do we figure out what this midpoint of this line is? Okay, well there's a secret in that if you go like this, okay, I am a professional artist. Just to remind you guys, please delete that from your, from your recordings. Oh, yeah. All right, here we go. Okay, so this midpoint is the center of that rectangular plane that's in perspective. And so now, if you drop this line down, that is the midpoint of this shape. Even though it doesn't look like it, something's off. But it's roughly there. So if there's a door, it's right in the middle, it'll look like that. The top of this door will also go like that. If there are windows, these windows will also go to perspective like that. The same way I calculated where this midpoint is, you can then figure out where this next window goes, and where this next window goes, and where this one goes. Now I'm like faking all these windows, but there's an actual math. It involves exactly what I did here, which is basically creating an X, figuring out that midpoint, lining up these midpoints, and then dropping it down. And it will tell you, if you do the math correctly, where each of these windows goes and how wide each of them are. It's very laborious. No one's ever come up to me and said like, oh my God, your perspective is so amazing, that's why I bought your comic book. So I figured like maybe I should just fake it. But I think you do know, and when you do a lot of it, you start getting the visual hang of it. And so at this point, I don't even do 2-point perspective. I kind of move the ruler around. So very quickly. Where did the time go? All right. Can I even replicate this? The time that we have. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just basically. It's usually a ruler so I can see through it, which helps a little bit, but I will. So it's going to a vanishing point, but I'm just not going to draw it. And I just kind of freehand it and make sure that they all seem to, but I use these kind of guidelines to figure out where all the windows are. They all line up. And then it's almost like a pattern where if you go in and create a lot of visual elements like this and start breaking up the shapes so that you don't see the lines, because the lines are what give away perspective, you can start creating your cityscape and it feels 3-dimensional. It feels like it's in perspective, even though I didn't draw any perspective lines, other than just kind of these lines that generally kind of splay out. So, okay. So we have 5 minutes. I'm gonna try to do one more sketch real quick. Okay, any other questions? Back there in the hat.